Think my wife wants to have. With her friend. So, my wife and I have been married for a number of years and are the parents of 2 young boys. We didn't have nearly as much as we used to after we had children, since it was more difficult to get alone time after we had children. We finally made the decision a few months ago to find the time to ramp it back up, and it has been absolutely wonderful. Our feelings for one another are as strong as they were when we first met, so there's no need to be concerned. It was only recently that she finally admitted to me that porn makes her feel hot, after years of denying it. Despite this, she did acknowledge that it is specifically lesbian porn that she finds appealing. Our jokes about her getting a girlfriend, I openly said it was a fantasy of mine to see her with another woman, and how I wouldn't want to do anything with the other woman but watch them together, or maybe even a circumstance in which I was simply involved with my wife, were always amusing. The usual response is, yeah, but it's not going to happen because I don't lean that way, I'm informed. So, about the time she confesses to liking lesbian porn, she also tells me she fantasizes about having a relationship with another woman. Still nice and not bothersome to me. In fact, I find it to be a great turn-on in many situations. Of course, when we want to be extra nefarious, we will bring up this dream in our bedtime conversation. When I inquired as to the appearance of her ideal woman, she stated that she wasn't sure since nothing stood out to her. I recommended she chose one of her employees who also happens to be one of her closest friends, which she agreed to do. For the last couple of days, she has been about it and talking about it at work, and we've been joking about it on the phone. She seems to be quite enthusiastic about the notion, which appeals to both of us. Time has undoubtedly become more seductive as a result of this development. Unfortunately, since she hasn't asked her friend and none of them has ever had an encounter with another woman, the wife is unsure if her friend is interested. Daughter-in-law seems to be fairly interested, and has said that she would want to go out for drinks with a friend one night to see where things go from there. I told her that she could have it if she wanted it, and she agreed. Please understand that I am indifferent about the outcome of our relationship if this happens. She adores me, and I adore her in return. That she will leave me and walk off with her friend isn't anything I'm worried about. Even if they do things without telling me, as long as I find out about it later, I will not be concerned. Believe me when I say that I am quite capable of delighting my wife, and I am certain that I will not be replaced. Fortunately, there is nothing to be worried about. Aside from that, my wife would be worried if I smacked her friend simply because, well, I don't want to do it. To reiterate, I would either watch or, if I did join, I would only do it with my wife, as I already said. If the wife's friend isn't interested in the idea, then that's the end of the story. But what if her best friend is also interested? Is it enough for me to just support my wife to make her dream a reality? Is it unethical for me to endorse this product? Story 2. Partner of 10 years cheated with coworker. My 30 female, boyfriend, 30 male, went out with his colleagues one night. I'm not extremely jealous, or rather, I wasn't particularly jealous, but he believed I was, so he told me it was just males. He was gone all night this night. I was unable to contact him. Around midnight, he entered the home, trashed. I was outraged and weeping. He didn't give a. The following morning, I suggested we talk about what occurred and how it made me feel. I was straightforward and honest, and he apologized. We went out to supper and spent a lot of time talking. We went out to supper the following day and spoke. He was, however, behaving strangely. His body language was evasive, and he was quite silent. He then informed me that he had an encounter with a colleague at the pub. I was devastated. When I asked him why, he said, "I don't know." I then gave him an ultimatum, which was probably not the greatest thing to do. I told him that if he wanted to work things out, he needed to get a new job right immediately and stop communicating with the individual. No, he said. That night, he departed. This was not anything I anticipated. I had complete faith in him. It was really disturbing to me at a time when I was already emotionally weak. The following morning, I invited him to come over and discuss, as well as bring his belongings home. I knew he was with her since his location was shared with me. I went downhill rapidly and ended up in the ER. He was informed. Except for what occurred when I got home, I don't recall anything else. He said he urged her to delete his phone number and that he no longer followed her on social media. I forced him to show me her profile. I demanded to view his communications. I demanded so many information, and he agreed. He was honest in his apologies. He's been willing to discussing difficult topics. When I questioned him why he did that, he stated he was just intoxicated, but he's also been blaming me for the things he's unhappy with. I'm not sure what you mean. I pay my fair share, take care of the home, and am generally kind and helpful. He did, however, eventually decide to seek counseling as a result of this. While I am confident in the fact that he and I have done everything correctly, I am still filled with enviousness, suspicion, and bitterness. He expresses sorrow, and when I inquire as to whether or not he likes her, he claims that he has no idea who she is. When I inquired as to whether or not he was drawn to her, he said that he was not at all. He is forthright in all of his dealings, yet he maintains a high level of caution. I'm completely at a loss on what to do. His body language gives me the impression that he is trying to hide something from me. Alternatively, he will smoke, which is his major signal that something is bothering him. I'm not pleased with how I'm feeling as a consequence of this. I'm completely at a loss on what to do. I would much appreciate any positive words of encouragement as well as sensible advice. I really want to put things right, but I'm frightened of doing it. He was adamant about not leaving his job and refusing to end his communications with her. I felt compelled to provide an explanation. In addition, he has been moved to a new department. Story 3. Caught in between my parents cheating. For over a year, I've been trapped in the middle of my parents' unfaithful disaster. In a nutshell, my parents married in 1999, mom was 15 and dad was 20, and have 6 children with twins on the way. My younger brother was watching YouTube on my father's phone about a year ago when he began weeping. When I went to check on him, I discovered that he had unintentionally clicked on a notice, which caused his video to disappear. The notice was a text discussion between my father and a lady regarding lingerie, and my father inquired whether he had seen her in them. She then gave him a photo, which I didn't view since I don't want that image to stay in my brain, and some flirtatious messages. At this moment, my brother is having a breakdown, so I just delete the alerts and hand over the phone to him. I subsequently got the phone back to show my mother, but they were gone. I didn't think my mother would believe me. My father and I don't get along for unrelated reasons, so I had to keep it a secret. It ate at me for months, until one day I was on the family computer and noticed a Google search for guy is cheating, but I don't have evidence. I remove it so that my siblings don't see it and go to visit my mother. We spoke for a long time, and she guilt trips me into learning more about my father and this lady. We got screenshots, he was deleting all of his talks, printed them, and so on, until one day he sends a message to this lady and states that they had been chatting since either the year of or the year before my father met my mother. I've never seen her that unhappy before. And my father were constantly messaging, he was using pet names and flirting with her, and she wasn't the only one. For a few months, my mother and I did all of that, and then she simply stopped. She confronted my father, who freaked out because he didn't want a divorce, and then she told him that I knew he was cheating and forced me to throw away all the proof. My siblings were aware of what was going on, but my mother refused to let me tell them. Now she's pregnant by him, and I'm certain he's still cheating on her. I simply don't see why we went through all of that only for her to toss it trash. She's essentially been the sidekick the whole time. I'm not sure whether this is the appropriate forum for this, but I just need to get it off my chest. I despise holding secrets, but I'm not sure whether it's worth the effort to collect proof again to tell her he's cheating, or if I should simply let him do it. Anything you believe might be useful is much welcomed. Edit for clarity, I'm the second oldest of 8 children, 21, 17, 17, 17, 13, 5, and the soon-to-be-born infants. This was also the second time my mother detected my father cheating. The first time was when she gave birth to child number 6, the 5-year-old.